Mochi, who's the supervisor of the homicide unit, 88 Chesley Lightsey, assistant supervisor, and also 88 Ashley Tizlowski of the homicide unit. We are here to explain this office's decision to drop charges against Fayaadh Gillard for the tragic death of his twin brother, Suhail Gillard, who was shot and killed in their father's Overbrook apartment on Sunday, December the 1st. Obviously, any death of a young person is tragic. What also makes this loss tragic is that these twin 18-year-old brothers were by most accounts very close to each other. They were both good students, football players at Mastery Charter, who had very bright futures ahead of them. One brother is gone, and the other is traumatized and is bereaved, possibly for the rest of his life, and all because of a firearm. Our investigation in cooperation with the Philadelphia police initially found that Fayaadh did indeed pull the trigger and fire the shot that killed his brother. But upon further and careful investigation, we have concluded that while Fayaadh did pull the trigger, he did not do so with criminal intent. This was a horrific accident for which the whole family will suffer, but for which he should not be held criminally liable under these circumstances. Aleem Gillard, the father of the two boys and one daughter, should not have been in possession of firearms as a convicted felon, more specifically, the firearm that accidentally caused this death. He should not have encouraged his three children, the twins and their 16-year-old sister, to play with the firearm. And after the accidental shooting resulting in the death of one of his twins, he should not have instructed his two surviving traumatized children to lie so that he could keep himself out of prison. We believe Aleem Gillard is responsible for the death of his child, Suhail, and he will be treated accordingly. Investigation on that point is ongoing. Now, at this point, if there are any questions in regard to this particular investigation, I would invite them. We have those most familiar with the case here who could address any of those questions. I do have some comments to make after we've completed discussion about this case in reference to President Trump, but I will save that until after any questions on this topic have been raised and any answers given. Are there any questions?
You expect to charge Gillard with murder? You expect to charge him with murder? I'm sorry, you expect to charge Gillard with murder, the father?
I hate to choose among two capable reporters.
Take the more attractive one.
I will say this. This is an ongoing matter. The conduct of the father is very serious. We will have more information in the near future. Are there any other questions?
How near in the future? I mean, tonight, tomorrow?
It's hard to say exactly, but I would say we will have more information in the very near future.
Can you give us some more information about, you said he encouraged the twin boys and his daughter to play with this gun. Can you give us some more information on that?
I'm going to ask 88 Ashley Tizlowski, who's handled this case personally, to come forward to answer any questions on that point. Would you come forward, please? Excuse me.
So to answer your question, the information that we have is that when all three children went to the home, they were shown the firearm by the father. He was demonstrating how to use it, showing them specifics about the firearm, how to load, unload, how to actually eject bullets, and then the firearms were given to the children to essentially mimic what he was doing. And at that point is when the fatal shooting happened.
This one gun, or were there other guns that they were playing with and shown how to use? Were there other guns or just one?
There were other guns.
How many?
One other.
So 2 guns total.
Yes.
Are these children normally in the custody of Aleem? Do they normally stay with him?
They're primarily in the custody of their mother.
Talk about his gun history and why it is he should not have possessed a gun.
I'm not going to go into his full history. As Larry said, all of that information should come to light very soon. However, what we can say, what we will say at this point is that he is a felon, and so by law, under Section 6105, he is not permitted to have any firearms.
How frequently did they stay or visit with Aleem?
I'm not sure about their entire history. I do know that at the time they were at the home, they hadn't seen him for a couple of months.
So Fayaadh's got the gun, and he's got it pointed at his brother while he's trying to learn how to load and unload at his father's urging. Can you just sort of talk about the moment of the firing?
I'm not going to go into all the details about the exact moment that Suhail passed away, but what I will say is that it is our understanding from looking at the facts of this case and the investigation that has been ongoing for the last 10 days, that it is when the children were mimicking their father in terms of how to use this firearm that the firearm discharged.
Do we have an age on the daughter who was there?
She was 16.
How do you spell her mom's name?
Aleem, A-L-E-E-M.
Has the father been cooperative? Has he admitted to what has happened? Since you're now saying he is the one that's responsible for his son's death.
We have not had any communication with the father in that regard at this time.
Tell us and spell your name one more time.
Sure. T-O-C-Z-Y-L-O-W-S-K-I.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Are there any further questions on this topic? We also have Chief and Assistant Chief of Homicide here. If there are any other questions?
Obviously, this wasn't the first young person killed in the city so far this year. Unfortunately, this one happened in the presence of his parents. Can you talk more about gun violence in the city this year and as it goes into this tragedy here?
Well, I can tell you that obviously, it's something that captures a lot of our attention. I would say at least half the day yesterday was spent trying to work with other stakeholders in regards to various gun violence intervention possibilities, in meetings with national experts, and setting up additional breakout groups and additional meetings for some things we intend to roll out last year. Obviously, some of these problems are very structural. They're as broad as the fact that we have more guns than people. It's a very difficult thing to get at. They relate closely to issues of poverty and desperation and hopelessness. But there are things that can be done now to try to make it better as we move forward, and we're working very actively on it. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Also, is it normal to drop all? It's accidental shooting, we get it, but is it normal to drop all charges even if it is an accidental death?
It is normal and appropriate for the district attorney's office to look closely at a case and decide how to exercise their discretion. It's what police do every day when they make decisions about whether they should try to charge someone or not, and it's what prosecutors do every day. And given the totality of the circumstances here and everything that we know about it, we believe that it would be inappropriate to charge the surviving brother in this matter based on all the information we have at this time. Yes,
His dad, has he been arrested? Has a warrant been issued?
no comment on that at this time.
You're looking for him?
No comment on that at this time. All right, I don't think we have any other questions or any other questions about the case itself.
If and when you do charge him, will you please send out an email and make us all aware?
Absolutely.
He gets around in a wheelchair, right? Do you know that about him, that he'd been shot himself and he moves about in a wheelchair?
We are aware of those circumstances, yes. All right. There being no